Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Back on Thursday, how about Cale Sanderson and Neil Coulon?
Uh-huh.
All right, how about that? Leading into the Big Ten championships. All right. Let's get to rules. You're an expert at breaking them.
So far. It's tough. It's tough sometimes. What
do you mean it's tough? You make it look easy.
Well, it makes it look easy, but then the problem is when you easily show it, you have to figure out ways to not show it.
So April 18th, which will be 5 days after the Blue-White game, so it will be a Thursday, the NCAA playing rules oversight panel will get together, and they are expected to approve these rules along the way. One will be helmet communication. It was experimented with in certain bowl games. By the way, the Peach Bowl, Ole Miss and Penn State had the option of it, didn't do it. But helmet communication, which has been in the NFL for 30 years. And James will tell you, like anything, there are pluses and minuses to what they're doing. But the helmet communication will allow the coach to talk to the player, one on each side. So Andy Koltanicki can talk to Drew or Bo or whomever up until 15 seconds before the play's called, before the ball snapped. Now, the play clock gets to 15, it automatically cuts off, it shuts off. Tom Allen can do the same thing with one player on the defense. The player will be designated by the green dot on the back of the helmet. So that's one thing that they are looking at. Now let's get to the 2-minute timeout. This is the one that has fans like, wow, another timeout. No. Just slow down. Okay? Reading comprehension's a good thing. Okay? Okay? The 2-minute warning is not an additional timeout in the second or the fourth quarter. The TV partners get 4 timeouts per quarter. The 2-minute warning will be the 4th timeout. That's all it is. It is a designated, in other words, they'll say they've got 3 already in. Boom. They will just keep playing on until they get to the 2-minute warning because that is the designated 4th in both the second and the fourth quarters. Now, that'll be interesting as to how you want to use strategy with timeouts and so forth. All right. But here's the part that nobody has talked about. And I wish people would just talk about this stuff and say, they're going to put a 2-minute warning. And, what does that mean? That's not the first question I had. The first question I had is, are you changing any of the rules in the last 2 minutes in terms of first downs and so forth, right?
Yep.
No, that's not changing. In fact, this gives you a hard, boom, we're at 2 minutes. Right? And now from that point on, any first down, the clock will temporarily stop while they set the chains. That is staying in play moving forward if this passes. Now, what this is going to avoid is that 7-minute drive in the second quarter, or that 7-minute drive in the fourth quarter where they're going and going and going, and now I got to kick off. I got a touchdown field goal. Now I kick off. And after the kickoff, of course, we take a timeout. Then after the kickoff, we got to take another timeout because we have to make up for the break because of the 7-minute drive. That's what this does. This helps solve some of that, where it's a hard break. Everybody knows where it is. And it also then allows the other rules to kick in, that when you get a first down, the clock will temporarily stop while they set the chains. That will be back. That will continue. Right? Have you heard anybody talk about that? I mean, that's what gets me about this. Oh, it's a 2-minute warning. There's going to be an extra committee. Just settle down. Take a moment. Look into it. Okay? It doesn't take that long.
No.
All right? I've heard nobody talk about that. Nobody. All I've heard is it's a 2-minute warning and they're going to put extra commercials in. Okay? Okay? Yes to the 2-minute warning. Wrong to the commercials, to the extra commercial break, and also the fact that the other rules from last year stay in play, which means they'll stop the clock on first downs temporarily while they set the chains in the final 2 minutes. That's what they're doing. Okay? Next, they're going to do a lot more enforcement on uniforms, specifically the pants. A lot of guys don't wear the pants down below the knees. No, you'll get tossed to the sideline until you get it corrected. Okay, they are looking at a collaborative replay system. Okay, it's fine. Horse collar tackle. If you're outside, the box, it's a horse collar. They want to propose any horse collar tackle anywhere, including the box, is going to be a 15-yard penalty.
Should be.
And then they'll allow head coaches to do interviews at the end of the first and third quarters of games. Now they have to sit back and say, okay, great. Now you can use tablets to view in-game video. You can do that. And those are some of the things that they are looking at. Okay? In all likelihood, they will all pass on April the 18th. So if you're wondering if you're going to see a 2-minute warning in the blue-white game and so forth, I would doubt it, because at that point you're still playing under the old rules. And it's your game. You can do anything you want with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're also still, you're pretty much.
It's your scrimmage.
You're running that clock and hoping you get off the field by 4 o'clock.
Let's get out of here. Got to go. Got to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all, and a lot of these rules are already in effect in the NFL. So I think you have the blueprint right there to say, okay, here's how you're going to operate this. Here's what you're going to do. Right. Here's how, watch how they view video via the tablet. This is how you have to do it. Watch the horse collar rules. This is how you have to do it. This is this isn't going to be a complete foreign language in any way. With these rule changes, and I think that's a big reason why most, if not all, of these rules are going to pass.
Look, and there's enough coaches that are now in college football that have experience from the NFL as well. James being one of them. Yep. I mean, James knows what it's like to operate with this after his work with the Green Bay Packers. He gets it. The strategy then changes a bit. With you're the team behind, you're using your timeouts in conjunction with the 2-minute timeout. It gives you that extra one. You know it's there. You can count on it. So you can, just like in college basketball. I mean, if you have 3 timeouts remaining, right, you're the team that's behind. You definitely take 2 of them before 1 minute.
1 minute timeout.
Okay?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, now I've confused everybody. Why? Well, why are you taking before a minute?
No.
Why? I always love this. Like, why? Because the clock stops on baskets in the final minute of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest reason.
That's why you take your timeouts. You save one because you need it strategically, right? But if you get 2 other timeouts, you use those timeouts before the 1 minute mark.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because after that, you make a basket, boom, timeout. Okay, we stop the clock. Okay, make another basket, boom, timeout, stop the clock. Now we get to a minute. Well, the clock already stops on made baskets. So, the combine is now over. The combine is an interesting job interview, and it's great one-stop shopping. It's like going to an AAU basketball tournament.
Yeah.
But the interest in it has really waned. Really waned. Teams are now, there are several teams that didn't send anybody to it. The 40-yard dash. Everyone gets all enamored with the 40-yard dash, which is, I think, fun.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
exciting. People would like to know what 40 times are and so forth, and get excited when Chop Robinson runs a 4.48, 4.49, whatever he ran. Right, and the kid ran a 4.21.
Yeah, the record, the 4.2, yeah.
Trey Wingo, who used to work at ESPN, when it came time to let go of people the last time, he was one of the mistakes.
Not a shadow of a doubt on that.
I sat there and like, what are you doing? Who's running this?
Yep.
I made a great point. He went through all the 4-2s over and over again. The only one that made any impact in the NFL is Chris Johnson. Over and over and over and over. Yes. Guess what you don't do very often in the NFL? Very rarely do you run 40 yards straight.
40 yards straight. Nope. No.
Right? Now, it's a nice gauge.
Very rarely are you going to just burn by everybody either. Now, Tyreek Hill's got that ability from time to time, but it's not often. Most teams, not all. Most teams are smart enough nowadays to take away the biggest strength.
Yeah. And
if that biggest strength is you sprinting down the field 50 yards, then that biggest strength's getting taken away, and you're going to have to figure out something else. Yeah, that's a big reason why. I agree 1,000% with you. I think, to me, the Combine, I have looked at it as, the Super Bowl obviously ends in February. You have that month where you don't have any football. This is kind of the chance for some fans to get excited back into football with stuff like this. But from a perspective of a scout or a coach, a bad day at the Combine is not the be-all, end-all. I saw enough last year to what C.J. Stroud did in games to tell me he was going to be a good quarterback.
Sure.
I don't care what he did in the Combine. I really don't care.
I don't care what he did in the S2 test.
No.
Say, well, it's how he processes.
No.
I broadcast 2 of his games. He processed very well. I had no problem.
Frank Gore scored a 6 on his Wonderlic test. He's got 16,000 yards. Yeah. It's not, that's...
Well, look at the organization he mostly played for. They really...
That's true. Look at the... Yes. I was going to say, look at the school he went to. I should not say that.
Look at the organization he
played for. That's... I
mean, come on.
But, these things are fun for the fans. Absolutely. The diehard fan is going to get into it. You're going to get the occasional casual fan to sneak into it, especially now that you've let fans into the Combine, which they've now started to do. But no, I don't think it is certainly not the be-all, end-all, and I don't think it has the impact, as you said. I don't think it has the impact that it once had at all. And because teams are now realizing, hey, I got 75,000 other ways I can see this player without going to Indianapolis and seeing him run a 40-yard dash or seeing him work out for 10 minutes. And that's really the world we're in right now. And I think it comes down to what they can do in a game. What they can do, what that quarterback can do when he throws a pick six. What's he do right after that? Does he throw another one? Does he throw a touchdown pass? How does he react? You're not going to be seeing that at the Combine.
No. I'll get to the quarterback thing in a moment, but even pro days to me are invaluable for the guys that don't go to Indianapolis. It gives them an opportunity. That's their opportunity.
Yep.
Penn State's will be March the 15th. But that's the so pro days are important, and look, people will show up that want to show up. You're not going to get a full house of people. I mean, John Lynch is afraid to come back after.
I'll tell you.
Well, no, man. Do you understand what a restraining order means?
I know. They even said back exit. I went to the back exit. He simply was near the back exit, and they claimed I violated the restraining order. It's not fair. It's
not fair to him.
Not fair to him. Not fair to him. But I'll tell you, that pink slip that said, "Here's warning. Here's your ticket." They shouldn't have given it to me. Not fair.
He wrote it himself.
I think he.
Right. Pro days. I'll tell you who had 2 of the worst pro days out there: Lamar Jackson and Peyton Manning.
Yeah. They
both turned out just fine.
Yeah.
Okay. They both turned out just fine.
Yeah.
Look, so much of this is an inexact science because let's take, for example, college recruiting. He's a 5-star, he's a 4-star, whatever star you happen to be. But can you make the transition, the leap from high school competition to now college competition?
Absolutely.
Right? Many 4 and 5 stars can.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a 3-star does it with complete ease compared to a 5-star because you just don't know. Everybody's different. Right? Now, same story with this. As Bill O'Brien often told me, he says, Steve, the jump from high school to college is a huge leap.
You're getting away from home for the first time, too. That's another big
jump
part
from
of it.
college to the NFL is a chasm.
Yeah.
All right. I said, okay.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. So you don't know. Somebody may be turning in all these great things on the college level, and then they get to the pro level, like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that get to the pro level, and it's like, okay, no problem. They handle it with whatever reasons. They handle it with ease and have great pro careers.
Yep.
So you can't really tell. On the quarterback front, let's take your guy, Purdy, okay? Now, despite, mediocre coaching, he has been able to succeed in this league. Your guy. Kyle Shanahan, your guy.
The offensive master.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
The one that adjusts better than anybody when it comes down the stretch, right?
Well, that sounded kind of bitter. But let's take Brock Purdy, for example. Brock Purdy, in a plus and minus for him. So everybody knows he's famously the last guy picked in the draft and blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. But what made him the last pick of the draft? What made him, in part, the last pick of the draft was that the plus and minus is that he put down 4 years of video, which included a lot of pluses.
Yep.
But when you also put down 4 years of video, it also puts down minuses. Because you're playing all the time. You're going to have the bad day. You're going to have the bad moment. You're going to have the great day. You're going to have the great moment. You put down so much video that people sit back and go, okay, well, and they're picking apart everything. Oh, I like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. Right? As opposed to the guy, and let's go to Mitchell Trubisky, really started a lot of this trend.
Yeah.
He put down 1 year. Oh, I see the potential in him. I see the potential. Look how he moves, he runs. Yeah. Right? Well, he didn't put down a lot of video.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's so interesting about this, that for a period of time, less was more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I remember when Tommy Stevens was here, Jack and I talked about this. We didn't know what Tommy was going to do, whether he was going to transfer or stay, whatever. And he said whatever he did, he would have a chance to be like Trubisky, put down 1 year of video. Well, he did at Mississippi State. It didn't work.
Yep.
Okay. I think he played some of the CFL, I think.
Yeah. He's drafted. Signed by the Saints initially, and ended up.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see what they want to do now. Stroud put down 2 years of video. 2 years of video. Bryce Young put down 2 years of video.
Yeah.
But the problem is for Bryce Young is he went to a terrible team.
Yeah.
I mean, with no offensive line, whatever. And look, Houston wasn't very good. And let's give Stroud credit.
Yeah.
Right?
I give Stroud credit. I give D'Amico Ryans credit. I think the two of them together.
But they drafted
really,
Will Anderson. He was an impact player on defense. They drafted well. They were smart. Carolina, after Bryce Young, did they draft well? Not really.
Mingo's, I think, going to be okay, but it's not going to set the world on fire.
Right? Yeah, they also had the 9th overall pick in the draft. They traded up with Chicago to get to the 1 and to draft him. But that's, you see certain guys, like if I heard once, I heard 20 times, you got to get Desmond Ridder. Like, Desmond Ridder. I watched him in Cincinnati. I thought he was good.
Yeah, that was all right.
But I didn't see anything I thought that was exceptional.
No.
Then he goes to Atlanta and go, oh, that's a steal. I said, steal for who?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Atlanta's thinking about signing Russell Wilson now.
Mm-hmm. Or Cousins. Yeah.
Right? Somebody. And I'm not putting people down, but sometimes you don't see it in somebody. Like I watched Justin Herbert, I was like, okay, he can run, he's got a really strong arm, but
Same.
and he goes to the Chargers, and he's a terrific player.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Did not see it.
I didn't see it in Daniel Jones. I'm still right. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Yeah.
But I saw it in Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I think he clearly saw it in Mississippi State with Prescott.
All right. I didn't see it with Jalen Hurts. Now,
too inconsistent. Well, he still is, though. I think
this past season he's had one great season in the NFL, and he's had all his other seasons have been inconsistent. The ones leading up to the great season showed some promise, but happened to be inconsistent, and he fell back to being inconsistent. Right, this past year. So it's interesting with him. Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was at Pitt.
Yeah.
Penn State played them. Okay. And I said, the one thing you got to watch out for is that on the collegiate level, I said over and over again on the show, Pitt has a quarterback. Okay. But did I think Kenny Pickett was a pro quarterback? No. Watching Kenny Pickett play in college, did I think he was a first-round pick? No.
No way.
Right? And to this point, he has okay personnel around him. That's like Pickens is a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnson's inconsistent. He's got some running backs. The offensive line was better. He's got terrific tight ends. Right?
Yeah.
But it's not working to this point.
No.
So all these evaluations, this is what made Ozzie Newsome great. Is Ozzie Newsome had the ability to look at people and look at what the team needed. And, you're not going to hit on all of them. But to make, for the most part, savvy, smart decisions. I think John Lynch does a lot of the same thing with San Francisco. There's no doubt Brett Veach has done that with Kansas City.
Yeah. What he's done with the Tyreek Hill trade, the way he's drafted, I think that gets overlooked because of what they have, the star power they have. But what he's done with those draft picks,
right, and what they do with free agency as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of free agency, the Giants will not tag Saquon Barkley. Yeah. He is now going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
They had to make a declaration here, and they made the declaration.
Yeah.
They're not going to tag him, so we'll see what Saquon wants to do. Moving forward, he certainly will have some interest out there from some people to see if he can craft some sort of multi-year contract the way Miles Sanders did with Carolina last year.
Yeah. Yeah, he's and all respect to Miles Sanders, I think Barkley is going to get a bigger deal. I think Barkley is going to make a bigger impact. It's to me, fit is going to be, well, you just talked about it with the quarterbacks. Fit for Barkley is going to be big. I think there's two teams in the AFC that really fit him well. I think the team we just named, the Texans, I think is one. I think because you have that threat with Stroud. Really, you have him in the backfield. You have a good team around him. I think that's unbelievable. And a fit to me that is an absolutely scary fit that I think he would put this team, it's cliche to say you put somebody over the hump, but I think there's a very good chance he goes to Baltimore. He puts that team in the driver's seat without question. Now, what they do in the playoffs is going to be the story, but you put him in the backfield with Lamar Jackson, that is a scary backfield. I think those are two teams to me that you're going to be looking at. And one other team, depends on what his relationship is with the Giants. We don't see everything on the outside looking in. Another team I think to keep an eye on is the Cowboys. I don't think the Eagles are going to have the cap room, or I would say them, but I think the Cowboys are another team that you got to keep an eye on because you just don't know what they're going to do with Pollard. You don't know how healthy he's going to be.
Right.
So I think those are three teams to me that if the Giants don't bring him back are going to be heavily interested in Barkley. Three of many.
Right.
But the weird part, the other point with quarterbacks, you talk about it with some of these guys that are minimal tape, they're going to get another chance. Trey Lance, there's a good chance somebody trades for him.
Why?
And I don't, and that's exactly
why
I don't get it either.
This goes back to the less is more.
Yeah, absolutely.
North Dakota State, he didn't put up a lot of video.
No, he's not playing the NFL. He played 2 games, he got hurt, and he goes into the next year, he gets hurt. So that's absolutely. But I can see, prime example, Kirk Cousins leaves Minnesota, which I think he will. Right. Would not be shocked if they trade for Trey Lance. Would not be shocked if they trade for a quarterback like Trey Lance. And this is where the Saints, I think, ran into trouble. It is, it also describes how hard it is to replace a franchise quarterback.
Sure it is.
And that's a big reason why they get the guaranteed money they get. But they ran into this trouble with Taysom Hill. Yeah. Now you're in cap trouble for a long time because of what you gave him, and part of it.
Right.
They've made several mistakes, but that was a big part of it. But yeah, that's the problem with the less is more, and you're absolutely right. And I think that's why these teams, even though they fail miserably on their first encounter, a lot of times, especially at their first round pick, they're going to get another chance. And I think Trey Lance, good chance. Probably gets another chance. I think if the Patriots draft a quarterback, which I think they probably will, I think Mac Jones gets another chance somewhere. Right. I think there's no question. It's the less is more is the philosophy that without a doubt, and teams just continue to fall for it and give up high draft picks to do it.
Well, there's always that thought. Well, we can.
Yeah, we can fix them. Yeah, absolutely.
Over here in the back, you really can't.
Yeah, no. There's there's a reason. Now, granted, there are times where it happens, but it doesn't happen often.
It's a hard position.
It's a very hard position.
And that's why it's so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That when you get one, you have gold.
You have, without a doubt. And even if you have bronze, you still give it gold money.
Sure you
because
do.
You have to. And that's where, look, we talk about Brock Purdy. Are you fully sold on Brock Purdy yet? I think he's a starting quarterback. Is he a top tier quarterback? I'm not so sure. Right. But I think without a doubt, you're going to have to give him the contract in 2 years that is going to keep him around. Jordan Love, same thing.
Yeah.
These two guys, I think, to me, are without a doubt going to get a major contract. And are they Pat Mahomes? No, they're not even close. But they're middle tier quarterback. And at this point in the NFL, middle tier is hard to find.
Right.
And it shows it in the draft. And you've got to pay them big money, and they're going to be doing that. And then that sets the bar, obviously, for the following years where they even get more money.
Right. So, I mean, that's what you sit there and you hope. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
You hope.
You hope, because if you miss, it's trouble. The 49ers, I think, got very, very well, beyond very lucky. They completely pulled a rabbit with Purdy, because if they would have failed with Lance and not had Purdy,
I mean, they wanted to draft Purdy earlier. I don't think people realize that. They actually did want to. Yeah. Go earlier with him. Yep. But that's they did get fortunate with him.
Yeah, got very fortunate, and
I mean, their fan base, of course, which is one of the worst in the NFL. What are they drafting this guy for? It's like, I mean,
and I'll never forget his first play when he comes in Arizona against Arizona in a first regular season play. He does the RPO and hands it to the wrong side. You're thinking,
again, these are your people. Okay, these are your people.
Yep.
All right. And
well, it's also
again a worst fan base in the NFL. I mean, just like
I would not.
Does anybody know the game? Like the people do they know the game at all?
I think people overlook in terms of fan bases how passionate.
Joking.
Oh, I know. I know. But I think people overlook.
You're a fan.
Absolutely. I think people overlook the passionate fan base of the Green Bay Packers.
Oh,
my grandkids.
I don't think people do. I mean,
I hope not. My grandkids couldn't get season tickets to that team.
No.
There is no way. I think to me, I have said it for probably 15 years now, the most passionate fan base. And I take nothing away from Philadelphia. They have very passionate fans. So does Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So do quite a few others. But I would put the Packers, the most passionate fan base in the NFL.
I mean, it's now part of this is, you know, I'm good friends with Eddie and Mickey Russell.
Yeah.
Well, she grew up, now, even though she spent some time in Philadelphia growing up, she grew up in Green Bay. Now, way back when, this is when they wore the sweaters and the skirts and everything, she was a Packers cheerleader.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. You know, and I've gone to a game up at Green Bay, and this is when her mom was still
That is a
alive.
bucket list item for me. I've never been to Lambeau.
Oh, it's great. No. And then Wayne Larrabee got mad at me, and that was great.
Wayne Larrabee?
Yeah, he's the play-by-play voice of the Packers. Yeah. He found out I was at the game, and I didn't come over to the booth. He goes, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I didn't want to interrupt what you were doing." He goes, "Are you?" He says, "Don't you ever do that." I said, "Okay." Say, "I'll come over to the booth next time." All right. But yeah, it is a 102,000 population pro college town is what it's like. I love the city.
Yeah.
I love the Green Bay, the big town of Green Bay. Love it. I think it's a great town. And it's still got enough small town feel to it. It still is, it's still over 100,000. But it, for example, like Lincoln and Madison are 200,000. They're bigger.
Yep.
Both state capitals. Green Bay obviously is not. But this is, it's just a great place to go see a game, and everybody's invested in the team. Everybody.
When you have a family night that is your training camp night in August, and it draws a capacity crowd, that's when you know you got a real fan base.
It's also the team the media loves. You want to know why? Because they're stock owned.
Yeah,
which means you get all the numbers. All the other people don't give you any numbers. How much did they get from this? Well, how much did they get from that? Well, they have to put it out there for their stockholders.
Public trade,
Yeah. So everybody knows.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Yep.
Okay. Dale Brown says he charted every shot of Pete Maravich, and then he would have averaged 57 points a game. I don't know. I'm not so sure about that.
It's so hard to deal with these what ifs. I think you look back.
Well, he did it years ago. He did not do it now. He did it a long time ago. Now, I don't know if he charted it from the 19.9 line or the current line. I don't know what it was charted from. That part I don't know. But it's like, okay.
I think so many times.
Oh, no, I saw Pete Maravich play on TV. I mean, I saw him play.
I've seen highlights of him. That's it.
No, you watch the game like, this dude is cool.
Yeah, I've seen highlights.
The hair, the floppy socks, the whole thing. I remember exactly where I was when I found out he passed away, and that was...
I remember when he passed away.
I was at UMass.
I definitely remember when he passed away.
I was at UMass to do a game that they were all looked around and went, what?
Yeah.
Because he was so young. But and it's one thing about the run by Caitlin Clark to get to this point. It actually is a lot of people remember other people.
That's absolutely. And especially at the, taking nothing away from Pistol Pete, the women's level. You're starting to now see these names again.
Yeah, sure.
That you've had the chance. Absolutely. Yeah, without question.
I mean, Lynette Woodard's played in the Jordan Center.
Yeah.
I mean, with the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So now tonight the big game is Illinois-Purdue. And that game is at Illinois. It's senior night. People have been wondering about Terrence Shannon with his legal situation. Does it have any impact on the NCAA tournament potentially? And the answer is no. The preliminary hearing in his case is May the 10th. All right, so it'll have no impact on the NCAA tournament, his ability to play in, out, whatever it may be. So May the 10th is his preliminary hearing. Now, could it have an impact on his draft status? Now, that's a different story because of the timing of it. But that'll be tonight. It is going to be in Champaign. And this is one where you find out where these two stack up against each other. This is a golden opportunity for Illinois to make a statement. Now you look at other teams, for example, Wisconsin's playing Rutgers. Okay. Wisconsin has they've lost 7 of their last 9 games. Yeah. As you know, going into the season, I was not big on Wisconsin. Like, okay, Wall's a good player, Crowell's a good player, Hepburn's a good player, but I thought the new rule about like charges was really going to affect him. Oh, bingo. Yeah. It has affected him. The guy I wasn't sure about was A.J. Storr. Storr made a huge difference early in the season for them. They beat Marquette, big win. Had a couple of other big wins along the way, especially early in the season. They came in here, they were rolling. And Penn State beat them by 4, 77-73. Played a great game that night. But after that, they kept winning again, where they went through the first half, and the only loss they had in the first half was Penn State. Until they played Purdue, then Purdue finally beat them. Okay. So they go through their only 2 losses in the first half of the Big Ten season were Penn State and Purdue. Since the Purdue game, Storr's hit a wall, that's hard for them because he's the only guy that's different on that team. Remember when the Celtics acquired Kristaps Porzingis? Mm-hmm. I said, and they got rid of Marcus Smart and so forth, made trades. I said, I would have made the move because I thought Brad Stevens made a great move for this reason. Porzingis is different than the other guys the Celtics have. The Celtics had too many of the same guys.
Absolutely.
Wisconsin has too many of the same guys. Mm-hmm. All right?
That's a great point.
All right? Storr is different. He's a different player than the rest of the players, which then opens the door, because of his athleticism, to let the other players have a little more room to operate because of him. Well, Storr's hit the wall, and that's a problem. Right? Purdue does have a lot of guys that are the same, except for one guy. That's Zach Edey. And the difference maker they have is Lance Jones. He's different than Heidi. He's different than Mason Gillis. He's different than Lawyer. He's different than Smith. Okay? Jones is a shooter. He's a slasher. That may not be the best shooter. He's like 33%, which is fine, right? But he's a slasher, a driver, right? Could be a decent defender for them. He's different than the other players Purdue has. Purdue has too many of the same players except for him. And, of course, they've got the insurance policy down low in Edey. That's why it's going to be interesting to see what Matt does next year, because he's not going to have that insurance policy down low. Smith has definitely improved as a point guard. He's playing really well. You always want to do whatever you can to somehow turn him left. You can turn him left. He is exponentially less effective if you turn him left. You turn him right, the whole thing is wide open for him. He can drive it, he can shoot it, and man, can he pass it when he drives right. When he drives left, everything drops off by 50%. Right? Lawyer, no offense, I've never been a big fan. As you know, I've been like, okay, fine. Right. Okay. Yeah, he can hit some shots. But it's okay. Remember in the Big Ten tournament last year, who was the person with 2 minutes to go kept saying, I'd foul Lawyer? 81%. And Dick's like, yeah, he says, 81%? I said, Dick, he's hit 4 of his last 12 at the line. I said, the guy's out of gas. Went to the line, bricked him. I've never been a big... Same thing with his brother when he was at Michigan State. I was like, okay, I don't, over here in the back, okay, I don't see it. Okay, I don't see it. So each of those teams has a guy that's different than everybody else. But Jones, I think because of the depth of Purdue, see, Wisconsin doesn't have the depth.
Yep.
Because of the depth of Purdue, Jones doesn't have to log 1 billion minutes, right? Just a half billion, right? And Storr has to log a lot of minutes. I think it's affecting how he's playing right now. Rutgers has Wisconsin. Rutgers, which is the Virginia of the Big Ten. You realize Virginia has not cracked 50 points in 4 of its last 5 games. 4 of its last 5 games. They have not cracked 50 points. Are you kidding me? Now let's get to one of the great stories in college basketball. It has nothing to do with the Big Ten or the ACC, and that's Washington State.
Yeah.
I've always said that Washington State, I've talked about Washington State and Penn State being 2 of the tougher jobs to win, but Penn State's had much more success, believe it or not, than Washington State has had.
Right.
Way back when, there was a coach at Washington State that went 8-8 in the conference, and it allowed him to get the Oklahoma job because, like, how can you go 8-8? That way to go. At Washington State, Kelvin Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was another coach that got going there and had a guard by the name of Klay Thompson. And that was Tony Bennett. He parlayed that into the Virginia job.
Yeah.
Since then, nobody's parlayed anything at Washington State into anything. But Kyle Smith came in. I think he came in from San Francisco, from USF.
Yep.
All right. And outside of Arizona, I mean, those are the top 2 teams in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 may get 2 bids. Washington State's going to get 1.
Yeah.
And that's to their credit. In the last year in the league, the last year of this iteration of the league, they are having a great year. Now, what happens when they play in the West Coast Conference next year, we'll see. I don't know. Okay. Those games between Pullman and Spokane got to be, get those fans rolling there. See how many Gonzaga fans show up in Pullman at their court. But here it is. You're going to get a future Pac-12 team and a future Big 12 team and a team that is staying, quote, in the Pac-12 minus 10.
Minus 10.
And then we'll see how it plays out after that. Because, look, there are really 3 programs in the country overall that I've looked at. And I felt like the whole realignment thing has given them the shaft, right? And the 3 have been Washington State, Oregon State, and UConn.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at UConn. They're the biggest. Now, look, the moneymakers football. They're sitting there in independent in football. Okay, they're losing money hand over fist, right? Basketball can't make up for it.
No.
Okay?
Nope.
Although I was taken aback, I never realized this. When UConn won the outright Big East championship, it was their first since '99 when they won the title. They had not won a Big East championship since '99. Now, part of that time they were in the American, right? But you think about it. They've won 4 national championships since. Because in '99 they won the Big East title and they won the national championship. But they won 4 national championships since with no conference championship. Like, really? Okay. But those are the 3 I always looked at because Boston College repeatedly blocked UConn with the ACC. Right? And, I mean, that's the kind of politics that comes into play with this. Washington State and Oregon State were left holding the bag. And USC, UCLA, of course, went to the Big Ten, and eventually, 14 months after that, Oregon and Washington were invited in. But look at the year that Washington State's having. And they're really playing well. It doesn't matter if they're playing in Pullman or they're playing in Tucson. They're playing well. They played great against Arizona the other day. Wow. Yeah. I have to vote for the All Big Ten team. One year I tried to write your name in. Under Coach of the Year.
I was going to say coach or player. There you go, coach. All right.
Coach of the Year. They said, you can't vote for him Coach of the Year. I said, you should hear him on the talk show, man. What a coach. Wow, he's got all sorts of really great ideas. Right? Now, I said, can you draw me up a play? And it was really cool. You drew me up that play, but the team you drew it up with had 7 players on it. I mean, part of it is you got to know the rules.
That team has more guys on the floor than the other team on an inbound, and somehow a guy gets wide open for a 3. My old coach used to pull his hair out when that happened every time.
I know.
Every time. I can imagine what a coach does at the next level.
We're playing man-to-man. How did you lose him? I didn't see him.
You could double team him, but you still can't.
I didn't see him. You didn't see him. He's the only guy you're looking at.
Oh, man. I never understood that.
I lost him. You lost him. Really? All right. So you lost Jordan.
Yeah. Somehow lost the best player and the best player.
Like the only guy we couldn't lose. You lost him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost him. Okay. Well, I love that stuff.
Now, Reggie Miller, granted, when he got open to beat the Bulls, might have used the arms a little bit to get open. That's a little different, but yeah, you lose the best player on the team somehow. I don't know how it happens.
Okay, so here's one for you. I'm watching the Texas Baylor game last night, and they called a technical foul on Dylan Dessou. Dessou eventually got hurt in the game. He had to leave because he was pointing or something like that. Same guy that called 2 technical fouls against Penn State the week before.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it once. I'll say it again. Okay? The best ones in their jobs,
mm-hmm.
right, are the ones that they can take all the information and process it, and you can't have enough information. There's nothing wrong with having lots of information, but in the end, you're the one that has to make the calls, whether it's the call as a player, the call as a coach, the call as a referee,
right,
or announce a game, and make calls and so forth, right? The best ones are the ones that have a feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really know the game, understand the game, understand how what's happening with the chess pieces. You can have great athletes out there that really aren't basketball players or football players, but they're great athletes. But you got to work hard to teach them how to really the nuances of the game because they don't have a total feel for it. There are other people that may not be the best athletes, but can pick up a step here or there because they've got such a feel for it. It's the same thing in officiating, right? You have to have the temperament and the feel for the game as to what's going on, when to talk to players, right? And when to put the hammer down. Okay? All right? Now, you notice I have not said the name of the official,
mm-hmm.
right? Nor will I.
No.
But this guy has no feel for the game.
Yeah.
Right? None.
And you also see the tendencies when certain coaches or players get technical fouls. They don't get very many. They get a couple, and it is typically the same 1 or 2 that are making those calls.
Right.
Yeah.
And he made the call in last night's
mm-hmm.
game. I'm sitting there like going, you got to be kidding me. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Again?
Yeah.
I mean, and what did Dylan Dessou do? Virtually nothing.
No, nothing.
Okay? What did Ace Baldwin do? I can tell you. People have asked, well, what did he do? He did nothing.
And one of the worst.
All right? Now, there's more to it than this.
Yeah.
Okay? Where, again, official getting madder and madder and madder. It's not your job to get mad.
No.
Officiate the game, officiate the moment.
Don't
That's
eye
your
the player.
job. Your job is not
mm-hmm.
to get emotional on the court.
Uh-huh.
He gets emotional.
Yep. Too many do.
Right?
Yep.
Well, no. A lot of guys
the veterans.
Okay,
don't.
let's go back to the game on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Right, in Iowa City. Right? Did DJ Carstensen make probably a call? Yeah, he did. But what did DJ do? He came over and he talked to the guys on the bench. Right? I think he might. Hey, look. He says I saw it this way, but I can see why you thought that. Whatever. But he talked to him. Brooks Wells came over. All right. And I personally like DJ a lot. I mean, and DJ has a great temperament. Yeah. Brooks Wells has a great temperament. A guy like Kelly Pfeiffer has a great temperament. Right. Last year in Iowa City, remember when Fran McCaffrey did the stare down on Kelly, and Kelly did not tee him up. He did not. Because he felt it would have determined the game. Yeah. And he didn't do it. And the next game he had was Northwestern. And I pulled Kelly aside before the game because he came by to say hi. And I said, hey, Kel, I just want to tell you. I said, I give you all the credit in the world. I said, for what you did at Iowa. I said, that tells me about you as a person and as an official. I said, you didn't determine the game. I said, you just stood there and just let him do whatever. I said, I give you all the credit in the world. I said, I'll tell everybody that, which he appreciated. But I mean, now, did Kelly make a bad call in the Jordan Center on the Dickinson play when Lehman hauled him down? Yeah, he made a bad call.
They happen, though.
Everybody does.
It's, they're human.
Okay, and guess what? You want to know what? On that particular night, until that call, right? Just to let you know, how, you always want to do these things in an element of fairness. And I think over the years we've shown on this show that we want to be fair, not over emotional, but fair. Okay, Dick and I both felt until that moment he was the best official on the floor that night, right? And then all of a sudden that play happened. Okay, now was it a bad call, bad play, bad moment? Yes. Okay, does everybody have that? Yes. Well, right. The problem is you brag about it. Like, I never make any mistakes. I'm like, okay, great.
You don't count the 2000?
Right.
One of my absolute pet peeves, and most 99.9% of officials do not do this, is when a player disagrees with a call and he or she is walking away, turning away from the official, going the other way. You have no idea if they're frustrated with themselves, if they're frustrated with anything else. You don't tee them up in that spot. Well, and there's too many that do.
I've told the story. This is many years ago. Bruce Parkhill yelling out to his backcourt. And it's a game Penn State won. And Bruce goes, what are you guys thinking out there? Right? And he got teed up. He says, what am I being teed up for? He goes, you can't talk to us that way. He says, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to them. Right? Bruce did nothing wrong. He didn't even swear.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing. Right? And the backcourt screwed something up, so he yelled out to them. He got teed up. You're like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. That's awful.
Okay? I'll never forget Big Ten tournament, Bob Knight.
I remember this one.
I'm sitting right next to the Indiana bench. So I got a real education on Knight coaching a game because I was right next to him as he coached the game. All right? It's not what you think it is.
Right.
Okay? It's not.
Nope.
Well, and he was yelling out about something, and Art McDonald, whom I really liked, remember, Art did a lot of games in Rec Hall. I liked Art, right? And in the Jordan Center as well. Okay? And Knight said something, but it was like really benign and didn't utter a single swear word. It was really benign. And Artie teed him up. Like going, what? I thought, right? Remember, Knight looked over me, and I looked over at him, I go, what a bunch of crap. Right? And that's the word I use. I didn't use the other word. Right? He goes, he didn't do anything. Yeah. Now, the next day in the paper, this was in Chicago, the Chicago papers, Knight blows stack, gets teed, He did not. That was absolutely inaccurate reporting.
Right.
I was sitting right there. He is the person to my left. He did nothing and got teed. He only got teed because it was Bob Knight, and he just assumed. That happens sometimes.
Yep.
Okay,
it's happened to Dennis Rodman.
That's wrong
as well. Yep,
that's wrong.
Yep, I agree.
Right, but he teased this kid up last night, and I'm like, I'm looking, I go, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Him again?
Yeah. Yeah, that was...
I'm going to check the Ken Pom numbers. I just want to see, for example,
Yeah.
how many games he's officiated this year and so forth. Ken Pom has all those things. Not as a vendetta. I just want to look. Right? You get to this time of the year, how many guys have officiated the most games? Like the Roger Ayers of the world are right around 100. Right? And I happen to know how much they get paid when they do a Big Ten game.
Yeah.
I happen to know the number. You can make a lot of money in a short period of time. Wow, in 6 months you can do very well. But the vast majority of them work hard, try hard. Right? They don't want to be. They do not want to go back to the locker room and get that text. Hey, check your iPad. We have to talk about this. They don't want to do that. Do you think they want to do that? Of course not. Right? The replay thing is sitting there. Sometimes these guys are making calls knowing that it can be backed up, or negated by replay. Right? So that's smart. Right? I wonder if it sometimes puts a hesitation in there as to how to handle a certain situation. Because let's take goaltending. Say you say it's no goaltending. You can't go and look at it. But if you do say it's goaltending, you can.
Go look at it. Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the vast majority of these people, like, they come by when we're courtside. Okay? We get a chance to talk to these guys sometimes. Paul Sells is a guy who, for a long time, Paul, right, wouldn't come over, whatever. He's always, kind of rigid, separated, whatever. No, not in the last 4 or 5 years. He is. He's come over. Hey, Steve, how you been? Hey, Paul, hey, I was talking when I saw him in Nebraska. I said, hey, I saw you doing the game at UCLA. I said, how many more games are you doing out in the West now? I said, with the leagues merging. He goes, well, yeah, I said, I've been doing a lot more out there. He says, but he said, Steve, I was able to. He said, I made sure if I do a West Coast game, I'd take a day off before I do another game, which he had done. All right, this game was the Nebraska game was on a Saturday. And so he did the game on Thursday night. He took Friday off as a travel day. Well, I'll tell you what the icebreaker was. The icebreaker was fun. We're at Michigan for a game years ago. And so on the iPad, I can go to the docs part of it. And on the docs part, it tells us who the officials are for the game, so I know who it is before we start the game. Right? And it was Earl Walton, Earl's a great guy. It was Earl Walton, it was Kelly Pfeiffer, and how much I like Kelly, and it was Paul, and he comes up, Paul Szechuan. Like, looked over at Dick. I said, Dick, who the heck is Szechuan? He goes, what? I said, check the iPad. I said, Earl Walton, Kelly Pfeiffer, Paul Szechuan. He goes, oh, Szechuan. He says, geez, well, they come out of the locker room, it's Paul Sells. What happened was when they typed it in, it did autocorrect. So I told Paul the story. I said, you came up as Szechuan on autocorrect. I said, so there were a couple of games I said, we referred to you as Szechuan. I hope you don't mind. He says, no, Steve, that's really good.
That's awesome.
Because, look, they're people.
Yeah.
They're people.
They're people. They enjoy it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, unlike you, they make mistakes.
Yeah, that's right. They got a tough job, too. That's
now you're going to complain you got a tough job. Listen to you now. Listen to everything. Oh, for goodness sakes.
They got a tough job. I think people...
You have a tough job. I'm sick of hearing about your tough job.
You can get on officials. I understand it if you do. If look, you're invested in your teams, and I fully get that. Look, I get on them, too. But I think the one thing that does get overlooked is how tough of a job I get on them as a fan. Let's make that clear. I think, to me... I think it's sometimes not looked at and understood how tough of a job they have.
Is this the part now where you go to management and you tell them, you know what, we're talking about tough jobs today, and I just realized I have a really tough job. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Should be exciting. It's a really nice jacket. Did you get it on discount?
Complete discount.
Complete discount means that you may not have paid for it. All right. Oh, boy. Just because we offered Jason Kelsey a job, don't let that worry you.
That's what I didn't understand. They're like, we offered Jason a job. I said, I already work here. Oh, yeah, you do. I thought they were going some direction.
You
somehow.
just back tomorrow.